A mystic is someone who can break through the veil of illusion through deep spiritual practice of any faith and see clearly, to see the possibilities of the world, to see what we're truly headed for. Mystics come in all shapes and sizes, all faiths and religions. It's becoming more and more important for each and every one of us to become everyday mystics, to do our work that we can break through the veil of illusion and see the possibility of something greater. So on this Mother's Day, my title is The Catalyst for Compassion, because I guarantee you that the mystics, at least the mystics I read about, all, when they touch the other side, truly bring back a consciousness of love and compassion. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, I believe I call him a mystic, and he synthesized together the truths in all the religions because of the truths of what's beyond this physical plane. And of course, he called the infinite spirit that we call God, the Mother, Father, God, because it holds the masculine and the feminine principles. And let me read to you what he defines as the feminine principle of God. The feminine principle, as the universal womb of nature, is an omnipresent principle operating through all living things. It knows how to unconditionally nurture and grow to fruition whatever falls into its embrace. Since we are one with God, we have within each and every one of us a masculine and a feminine principle. So we're each using that feminine principle of creativity to give birth to new things all the time. As Holmes said, we must be careful what we are embracing in our life, because that's what we're giving birth to. That's what we're giving birth to. This morning, I'm going to invite us to join together as we hear from the mystics, some of the mystics throughout the ages, to do mothering for a new world. I'm sure you believe it's time. We just have to turn on the news or read the paper or hear the sadness in the world. It's time for us to mother in a new world. Now, we've each been called to be here together at this time with a purpose and focus in our life. So it's all going to mean something different to each one of you, what a new world would need. For me, it means for each and every one of us to be the catalyst of compassion. Now, catalyst, the definition, in chemistry, a catalyst is an ingredient that changes something immediately, but it doesn't affect itself. It doesn't change. The substance that is used doesn't change. Now, I want you to remember that. We can grow, but we don't need to change and fall into what we're trying to help. So catalyst, as a person or event, quickly changes things. So I want you to remember, when I'm saying a catalyst for compassion, it means we can quickly change things. And let me read, the synonyms for catalyst are stimulus, spark, and impetus. So just own one of those for yourself, a spark, an inspiration, an impetus. And compassion is a deep caring. It's a deep caring. And it's a compassion for the deep caring for people, for humanity. It's a deep compassion for those that are suffering and having misfortune. Now remember, if we're a catalyst for compassion, we don't fall into the suffering. We are the ones that change the suffering. Ernest Holmes said it's imperative that we do not lose our individuality. It's imperative we do not lose our individuality because we came here as unique individuals. However, if we are a catalyst for compassion, we must be able to feel what others are feeling and walk in another's shoes. This is not anything new. The Native Americans got this. It may simply boil down to the oneness that is a main tenet of our teaching, that we are one. The Native Americans got this and knew this. A mystical teaching. Chief Seattle, over 100 years ago, said, "We are all children of the Great Spirit. We all belong to Mother Earth. Our planet is in great trouble. And if we keep carrying old grudges and do not do the work, we will die together. It's time." The Mother Earth is the greatest mother. She's continually giving and sharing and providing us with what we need. If we could have the picture, Griffin, up here. One of the astronauts coming back to Earth saw this little blue dot in the sky and didn't know what it was. And as he grew closer, he recognized it was his home. And he saw its beauty. And all of a sudden he was filled with great sadness that we as human beings didn't get it. And we've drawn these arbitrary dividing lines that separate us and keep us separate and cause the problems in the world. And he decided at that moment that he was going to come back to Earth and be a catalyst for compassion. And remember that we are one. And for us, I believe this day is about taking down the boundaries that keep us apart. The Yokut Indians, which are a Native American tribe from Central California, there's a great poem. It's a beautiful poem, and I just chose 3 lines from it. It says, "Sacred One, teach us love, compassion, and honor, that we may heal the world, heal the earth, and heal each other." And that's our call for today. Now, if the world is going to change, if we're going to create a whole new world, a new world, where does the change begin? You better remember, you got the finger pointing here. It begins here. It doesn't matter the quality of your life. It matters the quality of your mind, because our mind creates everything. So if we're going to change the world, we've got to do some changing. And some of us have gotten stuck in very narrow channels of our mind, right? We get really narrow thinking, and it's so easy to point the finger at someone else when you've got 3 pointing back at you. We've got to change and open. And Gene Houston called it leaky margins. We have to have leaky margins in the world so we can touch one another and walk in each other's shoes. I read a definition for compassion that was called trading humanity, that we can bring understanding to the world. Now, the Hindu mystic Ramakrishna, and this is in the 1800s, when asked, his disciples would ask, how can there be one when we're all so different? Do you ever wonder? I mean, you look at people and you wonder, how can we be one when we're all so different? We look different, we act different, we have different experiences. How can we be one? And he answered, there is only one truth. There is only one truth. It is just called by different names. We are all seeking the same things. We just show up in different varieties and different variances by climate and region and location and names. We're all the same within. We all want the same things. And that's what I want to remember today, that we can each leave here a little more open, a little more ready to see the compassion for one another. So the Native Americans got this. Ramakrishna got it. Some of the astronauts got it. Ernest Holmes got it. Jesus definitely got it. Ernest Holmes loved the teachings of Jesus because all his teachings were based on love God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself, which means loving yourself and your neighbor. But he went even further than that. He said, love your enemies. How many people find that really easy? Okay, well, we got some work to do there, but that's good. He said, the good thing is, he also said, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Not perfect on this outer expression, because we're all just doing the best we can, what we can do, but be perfect in remembering like your Father in heaven was perfect. We have to remember that we're not here on this planet to be perfect externally. We're here simply to remember and be willing to expand and grow and learn. Remember, do not reject your mother's teaching. We're here to remember, what am I learning from this? How am I growing? What am I to become in this moment? Are you softening a little bit? Just a little. That's all. Just a little tiny bit. This one. Okay. Keep working. Now this one, this guy got it too. But it's going to be a little harder because I'm going to give you a sentence and you might not quite get it to begin with. Joseph Campbell, beautiful Joseph Campbell, got this. Now this sentence comes from a book I have of his that's wonderful with all his writings and teachings. But he said, participate joyfully in the sorrow of the world. That sounds pretty, ugh. I mean, how do we participate joyfully in the sorrows of the world? That's what I'm saying. We do not, when Ernest Holmes said, do not release your individuality, do not let go of it, he meant don't get consumed by the collective consciousness of fear and doubt and hate and anger and lack and separation. It doesn't mean we can't melt into, oh my goodness, here I am, and see what someone else is experiencing. Joseph Campbell went on to say, the real question is, can I open myself to compassion? That's what the real question is. He said compassion is an immediate participation in the suffering of another. Not that you fall into the lack, the sorrow, the separation, the doubt, the fear. Not that you do that. The immediate participation because you forget yourself and do what needs to be done for the other. You forget yourself. You've been there. We've all been there where we could put ourselves aside no matter what was going on in our life. Somebody needed us, and we were there. We were there, and that's what he's talking. Joyfully, our practitioners live by this rule. We have someone come to us in sorrow and difficulty, and we're joyfully there with them. But we don't sink there, and so it's held. We know that life is fluid and ever-changing, and we know the truth, and we gracefully and joyfully with spiritual truths change belief patterns, the quality of mind, the narrow edges, and we expand. But let me tell you, someone came into me this week, and I was there with them in their sorrow and difficulty. Together we grew. You cannot give to someone else with the sense of compassion and not grow yourself. It's impossible because we are one. We are one in this. There was a beautiful teacher, Shantideva, who's from the 8th century, and he is an Indian Buddhist monk, and he's a scholar, and he wrote a great work called the Bodhisattva Way. And the Dalai Lama said that his this one book, the Bodhisattva Way, is the main tenet of Tibetan Buddhism on the way of compassion, the way to live spiritually and wake up in the world. And he said, whosoever wishes to rescue themselves should practice the great mystery. Do you know what it is? The great mystery? Oh, you could make it up, but I'll tell you what he said. The great mystery, exchanging himself with another. The great mystery. He says unhappiness comes from attachment to our small self, our physical self. And true happiness comes from tranquilizing the sorrow of another. Because when we tranquilize the sorrow of another, we cannot help but tranquilizing our own sorrow. When we truly give from that place of compassionate, unconditional love, we cannot help but growing and expanding ourselves. So Shanti Deva got it. Ramakrishna got it. The Native Americans got it. All the mystics. Jesus got it. Ernest Holmes got it. Are you getting it? We're works in progress, remember? It's not that we don't fall down. It's not that we don't forget sometimes that we look at somebody or something and go, oh, I'm glad that's not me. Well, guess what? If we are one, and you do the math, just checking if you're listening, we're part of it all. So when I said Ernest Holmes got this, he got this because he studied the mystics from ancient times to modern times. And if you pick up his 600 and whatever page book, Science of Mind, it is filled with the teachings of Jesus, because let me tell you what he says about Jesus. He calls him the greatest teacher that ever lived, humble in his humanity, compassionate in his tenderness, understanding the frailties of the human mind. Am I the only one that has those sometimes? Yes. Understanding the frailties of the human mind, he let the Great Spirit speak through him. In words of love and compassion, he claimed his divinity through his humanity and taught that all men are brothers. To know God is to love. And without love, there is no knowledge of God, because God is love. God is also law, as Ernest Holmes teaches, the workings of the universe to give us that what we put in it, all the laws of cause and effect, the law of attraction, all of that. But Ernest Holmes said he taught so much about the law in his early years, and later in life, as he learned more and more, he said, I would have taught much more about love and less about law. And that's what the world needs now. Much more teaching about love and oneness and who we really are. So today, what I'm going to invite us to do is I want to give each of you a gift that I received that's from a contemporary Native American poet. A contemporary poet who has a website, and she doesn't talk about herself or her small self. She just gives the gifts of her poetry. And when I read it, it was a message to all of us from the Mother Earth. So I'm going to invite you, and Kirk, if I can have just a little music behind this, and if you just put your feet on the ground. Feel the earth beneath you. Before we read this poem, remember, when your mind is uncluttered and expansive. Remember last week I taught the Pema Chodron's teaching of just breathing in pain and breathing out peace, breathing in confusion and breathing out clarity. So we'll just breathe in whatever's gone on today, whatever you're feeling, just breathe in whatever that is, if it's frustration, and breathe out openness. And hear the words to the poem, I Am There, by Hanochi. I am the breeze that kisses your cheek. I am the sun that warms your face. When you look at the purple evening sky, it is me. When you see a majestic mountain, it is me. When the birds sweetly sing, it is my voice. When the water gently laps against the shore, it is my heartbeat. I am the green grass against your feet. I am the refreshing shade of summer. In the stars you see my eyes. In the blue sky you see my body. Feel the air that surrounds you. I am there. Feel the love in your heart. I am there. And there. And there. And there. I am everywhere. We are one. Take these words and let them permeate your being. Take these words and let them melt your life, your mind. Open your heart to feel the love, the goodness that is being given to you. And allow yourself to use the power, the powerful beings that we are, to share and give that love, that compassion, that tenderness and kindness and humanity, to give it in return. We are one. The power of oneness is here to unite us, to heal this planet, that we work together with a vision of a whole new world. This Sunday, where I've invited each of us to be mothering a new world in our own specific place and space. This is a time that we come together in our humanity, in our oneness, in our compassion, and we claim the power of one. It is in this time that we choose to work together to create this whole new world. How good it feels right now to know and embrace this power of one, to know and embrace that we are part of a collective consciousness of goodness, that we can joyfully participate in the sorrows of the world, that we can step up and step out of ourselves, forget who we are, to tranquilize the sorrows of another, because we know that as we give, we receive. There's a oneness about everything we do. How blessed we are together to be in this teaching. How blessed we are to embrace this power of oneness today, to make this our catalyst for compassion, to simply use the power for one, to know that we are here together, not separate, that we are here in a consciousness and a quality of love. Let this song be a message and a remembrance and a reminder to each and every one of us that we are here for good, we are here for God, we are here for one another. And so it is.